Days 6 and 7, Nashville, Tennessee. So after the church in Memphis, I started off on a couple of hours drive towards Nashville, Tennessee. And on the way, I visited this coolest place called the Delta Heritage Center and Tina Turner Museum. So it turns out that Tina Turner was born and grew up around these parts. And a bunch of years ago, they took the one-room schoolhouse where she studied as a kid and transported it to the grounds of the museum of the Delta Heritage Center and made it into a Tina Turner museum. So it was really interesting to see the inside and the furnishings of this one-room schoolhouse where she studied, and the museum is also full of all kinds of Tina Turner memorabilia, the costumes, the recording albums. It was actually cool to see the yearbook with her picture, and even back then she said she wanted to be an entertainer, and it was really cool to see what other kids wanted to be. The boys all wanted to be pilots or engineers, and the girls wanted to be nurses and secretaries and teachers. And right next to it, there's a relocated cabin of a famous bluegrass musician, John Estes. And it's just so interesting to see how these people lived in what we would now consider abject poverty. And it also had a copy of one of his guitars called the cigar box guitar, and that's actually what they made guitars out of because they were too poor to buy the real musical instruments. And then the Delta Heritage Center itself, that also houses a whole bunch of museums inside it. There is the Cotton Museum because, the cotton industry is intertwined with the history of the South, even though Kentucky and Tennessee are considered to be mid-South as opposed to the deep South. So you see everything that's related to cotton. And for example, this bell was used to call the slaves back from the fields. And just all kinds of very fascinating facts about what can be made out of cotton and how much of it. It was just this whole huge industry. And then, of course, the Music Museum with a whole bunch of Elvis memorabilia, naturally. And it turns out that this area was also home to B.B. King and Carl Perkins and a whole bunch of other famous musicians. And a museum dedicated to the Hatchie River Delta, which talks about the natural treasures and the native animals of the area. So overall, it was just so interesting. And this place sits in the absolute middle of nowhere. So just goes to show you again that there is no such place as a no place. By the end of the day, I made it to Nashville, but it was raining, so I just bunked down for the night and started my exploration on day 7, going over the beautiful bridge over the Cumberland River, and my first stop was the Parthenon. Yes, Nashville, Tennessee has a full-scale copy of the Greek Parthenon. Originally, it was built from wood and plaster and brick for the Tennessee Centennial exhibit in 1897. But the building became so beloved by the city residents that they decided to make it permanent, and they rebuilt it from concrete and all kinds of real construction materials. And then in the park there is this beautiful sculpture dedicated to the suffragist movement, and to my astonishment I learned that Tennessee was the swing vote for giving women voting rights. And the night before the voting was to take place, the senator from Tennessee got a letter from his mother telling him to be a good boy and vote for the voting rights for women. And that's how Tennessee, which is really an unlikely candidate, became the swing vote for giving women voting rights. And the park itself, of course, was very nice, so I just walked around a little bit and then continued on to my next stop of the day, which is called the Music Row. Now, it's just a few blocks, not far from downtown, where many recording studios are located. And Nashville is known to be the capital of country music and bluegrass and blues. So I just walked around a little bit and saw all the studios whose labels the artists that I like play under. And they had this coolest sculpture of a man playing the piano. I don't know, like for some reason I was very impressed by it. It was really well done. And then I continued on to the beautiful walk along the Cumberland River with the views of the downtown and all kinds of funky architectural installations. So overall, I really liked Nashville. And the last stop that I made there was, of course, at the Gran Oprey. It's this beautiful, huge concert venue, which is essentially like, I don't know, the Metropolitan Opera of country music. And you can actually take the tour of the inside of the concert hall, but I decided that I'm just gonna leave it for next time, where I will be smarter and better prepared, and I will just get myself a ticket to see a concert there. And then the last stop that I wanted to make and didn't work out were the Oprey Gardens, which is this huge indoor garden on the grounds of the Opryland Hotel, very close to where I was. And the entrance is free, but the parking is like $50. And that's where I got really cheap, and I said, never mind. Plus, I was becoming a little bit pressed for time, because I still needed to make it across the rest of the Tennessee to the Great Smoky Mountains, preferably before nightfall, because there I was meeting a friend for the night of camping in the Nantahala National Forest. So I still have quite a few unchecked boxes left in Nashville, and I know for sure I will be back.